Those things that we prioritize are the things we think about all day. Those are the YouTube videos you watch. Those are the magazines you read and the books you do research on. Those are the things you daydream about. Those are the things you cancel important things for. Those are the things that you miss out on family time for. The things that we prioritize as our most important thing. I don't want to be engaged based on just what I do, but I want it to be driven by what my heart looks like. About my number one priority being in that statement, the greatest command, to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your mind, and your soul. That's my number one priority. That's who we need to be. And I think sometimes our daily struggles are revolving around the idea that our priorities are mixed up. Our priorities are not set how they should be. Do you realize the difference a day makes if our priority is in God and not in self? The little things don't matter anymore. The things that really get us riled up don't matter anymore. I'm going to tell you something else. If I walked out and somebody ran into my truck, I'd be hot. In fact, I've seen reactions like this from my wife as she grabs the kids and says, "Let's go to the other room," because Dad's not happy. Because my priorities are not always right. They're not always on Him. But when I look at people in the Bible that are engaged from the inside out, as we looked at Abraham, I want to look at Joseph in this idea, and it's a familiar story to most of us. We know he was the youngest of the brothers, and that his father seemed to love him more. The text says Israel loved his son more because he was the son of his age. And he gave him this coat to wear, and the other boys got jealous of him because he was daddy's little boy. And we know how the story goes, how they conspired to kill him. And then they said, well, we can't kill him, let's just sell him to the Ishmaelites. And then it went from one hand to the next, and finally he ends up in the house of Potiphar. And that's not even where I want to start the story. I know that was difficult for Joseph, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to be that youngest kid that nobody likes, and he gets sold into slavery by his own family. And then they're going to lie to his dad and said he's dead. But when I think of Joseph, and I see how he's described in Genesis, starting in chapter 39, I see this man who was engaged from the inside out, and he kept his priority in God as number one. And there's some application that unfolds because of who he was. Genesis chapter 39, verses 2, verses 3, verses 21, and verses 23, the statement is made like this: Yahweh was with Joseph. The Lord was with Joseph. Joseph was important in God's plan of things. But Joseph also understood his importance to God and who he was. There he maintained who he was. And in fact, not only does we see that the Lord was with Joseph, but this is how he's talked about. In chapter 41 and verse 38, he says this: "Can we even find a man like this, whom the Spirit of God lives in?" They saw it. They saw Joseph as keeping God as his number one priority. And let me ask you a quick question before we move on. When people look at you, can they make that statement? Man, I don't know if I've seen anybody that the Spirit of God lives in like him, like her. Because their number one priority in life is not finances, is not popularity, is not their jobs, is not their possessions, is not their own selfish ambition, but their number one priority in life is God and being engaged with Him as their power. And I will tell you, I don't know if I've looked at my life that way, and I think this could be a missing piece. Because I'm going to tell you something, we all prioritize something. We all prioritize something. Those things that we prioritize are the things we think about all day. Those are the YouTube videos you watch. Those are the magazines you read and the books you do research on. Those are the things you daydream about. Those are the things you cancel important things for. Those are the things that you miss out on family time for. The things that we prioritize as our most important thing. I've joked about it. It's hunting season. Sorry, Amanda, I'm going to be in the deer stand. Whew, what a statement. I got to do this. It's work. I have to be at work. There are 300 members who need me. I am a minister at the Broadway Church of Christ, and that's more important than my family sometimes. No, it's not. That's not what God wants from me. And now I'm looking at having a senior in college and ready to send her off to college and looking back at life and going, I don't think I have prioritized the right things first through a lot of my life. And now there may be regrets. Because maybe I've had my priorities mixed up. Joseph was a man who I believe, as I read through his life, had his priority right. He had his priority right when he was successful, and he had his priorities right when he was unsuccessful. He had his priorities right when things were going well, and he had his priorities right when things were going bad. But God was always with him. And because he maintained God as his number one priority, because he kept God engaged with his heart from the inside out, God allowed him to be successful, which put him in the position he was in at the beginning of Genesis chapter 39.